Hello, this is Acting Superintendent Robert Gregory, here to provide you an understanding and overview of the work of our school reopening committee and Board of Education in preparing for the fall of 2020. Our journey towards reopening schools started in April when principals and I started looking at three potential school reopening scenarios this fall. An overview of key activities throughout our school reopening planning process are outlined here. In May, we officially launched our school reopening committee with an eye on improving our school system and a focus on transformational outcomes for our students. The Board of Education worked with me and supported and approved new curriculum, leadership teams, technology, and virtual learning tools during the months of May and June. In June, our reopening committee created surveys to elicit feedback from key stakeholders in our school community. On a weekly basis, since then, we've been analyzing the data to ensure we customize our reopening plan to the needs of our school community. On June 26th, the New Jersey Department of Education released guidance for school reopening to ensure consistency and continuity throughout the state. The guidance made two things clear. Districts must be prepared to return to school in September in some capacity, but at any moment, based on public health trends, be prepared to pivot to remote instruction. Based on the feedback we've received and conflicting guidance between the DOE and CDC, the Board of Education and our reopening committee agreed the safest way for us to return in the fall is to launch the school year virtually. When the school reopening committee was formally established, we knew we could not return in September conducting business as usual. Thus, we used this as an opportunity to reimagine our schools. Why? Well, prior to the pandemic, we had 3 years of no growth in ELA and math on state assessments. Our graduation rate was heading in the wrong direction. Moreover, families share concerns about their child's access to rigorous, accelerating curriculum, which is often at the root of the educational achievement gap. On our family survey, 28% of our families were not happy with their child's remote learning experience this past spring, and 24% of our teachers didn't feel prepared to deliver effective remote instruction during the spring. In April, I developed a school reopening logic model that would help guide the work of our committee. As you can see, health and safety safeguards was the most important aspect of reopening, but I wanted to ensure we balance that with academic and social emotional learning objectives. Our school leaders, along with our district's curriculum and instruction team, began planning for implementing strategies that would accelerate unfinished learning and learning loss while addressing SEL and mental health challenges prompted by COVID-19. Additionally, we wanted to have plans to engage our academically vulnerable students and also plan for fluidity across multiple school reopening scenarios with a keen eye on revamping our virtual learning program. When we launched our school reopening committee in May, we created an executive committee comprised of principals, nurses, directors of guidance, student supports, and curriculum and instruction. Our business administrator and managers of buildings and grounds, transportation, and food services were also on our executive team. I began exploring and implementing strategies that would foster consistency, coherence, and alignment throughout the district in an effort to transform the Hillside Public Schools into a learning organization where students, staff, and families grow and learn on a consistent basis. We simultaneously audited all our core curricular resources to ensure our students were provided a rigorous and accelerating academic experience, whether that be in person and or virtually, because we are confident this year we must be prepared to implement both. Finally, we developed our school reopening playbook. It outlines 130 tasks that need to be completed before September, who is responsible for completing the task, and it gives them an opportunity to give us a weekly update on the status of their completion. Our school reopening committee met on a weekly basis, and then we formed 7 subcommittees to help execute our reopening plan. Those subcommittees provided our executive school reopening committee an update on a weekly basis of their progress. As you can see, looking at this example, these are 9 out of the 130 tasks in our school reopening playbook. On a weekly basis, we identify the status of completion of each task, and committee members provide our school reopening executive committee a weekly update. On June 26, the New Jersey Department of Education released their Restart and Recovery Plan for Education, which provided districts guidance in 4 key areas: conditions for learning, continuity of learning, leadership and planning, and policy and funding. Additionally, the DOE identified 10 critical areas of operations districts must be prepared to address. As of last week, the DOE provided parents options to register for remote learning, since a hybrid model is warranted in every district's plan. Information about registering for remote instruction can be found on our website. On a weekly basis, we looked at our staff and family surveys. Over 50% of our parents responded on our school reopening survey, and at least 37.4% of them would prefer virtual learning this fall. We also asked, if implementing a hybrid model, would they prefer our students attending school every other day or every other week? As you can see, the highest percentage of our families preferred an alternate day of the week hybrid model. Over 90% of our teachers weighed in on our staff survey, and at least 68% of them expressed health and safety concerns regarding our return to school. Roughly 40% of them have pre-existing medical conditions that place them at risk. We factored a lot more data into our decision and also looked at the conflicting guidance from the CDC and the New Jersey Department of Education. We felt the best way to launch the school year was to recommend to the board that we implement a 100% virtual instructional model. Our board agreed with us and approved that approach. So in September, all families in our schools will see our completely revamped virtual instructional model. The next video in our reopening series outlines that model. Thank you.